look at this Florida State defense, Stephen, it's multi-talented. So the linebacking core hasn't been quite up to standards in recent years, but they've got the influx of some top-notch players at linebacker in particular. The defensive front is exceptional. Josh Sweat could be a guy that nationally breaks onto the map. He's been an exceptional player, was the #1 rated player coming out of high school, and Florida State wrestled him away from a number of schools, most notably Ohio State. He could turn out to be a national star. He's a great player right now, but basically known in the Florida State and ACC circles. And then, of course, you mentioned Derwin James, who missed basically all of 2016, who's one of the more special athletes in the game. This defense rated #1 in the nation last year in sacks per game. They do lose to Marcus Walker, who takes 16 of those sacks with him. But again, Josh Sweat, Derwin James, and some of the other guys that you mentioned make for what's athletically maybe the best defense in the country, but maybe Bama gets to lean on them a little bit and wear them down after 4 quarters.
And that's going to be the key, and in particular, the right side of Alabama's offensive line. And as I've mentioned this a lot, we know what Bradley Bozeman can do. Bradley Bozeman, his second straight season starting at that center position, played very well last year as the first-year starting center. Rosh Pierschbaker at left guard. This is his 3rd year playing at that spot. Jonah Williams, I understand last year, he was a freshman at right tackle, did a phenomenal job. Now he's flipping over did a great job at right tackle. Now he's flipping over to left tackle to protect the blind side of Jalen Hurts. The right side of this group, Matt Womack at right tackle and Lester Cotton at right guard. These are the two that have to step up, man up, and really play well in this football game. Matt Womack in particular, seeing how the freshman from Kentucky, Lexington, Kentucky, Jedrick Wills, has done an incredible job in fall camp. Jedrick Wills at 6'5", 314 pounds, and you really don't see a lot of offensive linemen ranked high on the ESPN 300. 9 times out of 10, these are your quarterbacks, your running backs, your wide receivers, your defensive backs, your linebackers. You may see a defensive lineman ranked high if his high school coach is really, really working with him, but you rarely ever see an offensive lineman high on the ESPN 300. They're more times than not at number 167 or number 200. But Jedrick Wills was number 34. He was number 34 on the ESPN 300. This kid's got a lot of talent. He's got a lot of ability, and he's got all the tools right now. And despite Nick Saban and offensive line coach Brent Key that have been working with Matt Womack and pruning him and getting him prepared and cultivating him, though they see him as a starter now, when you have a freshman coming in that you can do very little to no pruning to, now you have yourself in a bit of a pickle here. So Womack has got to come out in Saturday's game and really show this is my job, this is my stage, this is my opportunity. Jedrick Wills will play, but Matt Womack definitely have to own that spot. Also, Lester Cotton at right guard, going to have to see what his improvements have been. Last year did play in 5 games, 2 at left guard, 3 at right guard, and though he had some great moments, had some moments of inconsistent play. So the right side of an offensive line, a lot expected of Womack and Lester Cotton. As far as Florida State's defense, you mentioned Josh Sweat. You also have Derek Nadee and Brian Burns, who had 9 sacks last year, and Jacob Pugh at linebacker, who's a pretty strong player in his own right. So Florida State, a very stout defensive front of Alabama's offensive line, can get the run game going. And I'm not talking 10 to 15 yards. No, if you can get 5, 6, 7 yards a pop going from Damian Harris and Bo Scarborough and Josh Jacobs, should he play, and Najee Harris, now you can kind of get Florida State to bring an extra guy into the box to open up the passing one-on-one matchups on the outside. But Alabama has got to get that run game going. And though it loves to run to the left side of an offensive line, the right side has to be ready to play too.
I mentioned the linebacking core, Stephen, because it hasn't been to Florida State standards in recent years. It's been very good players going on to some of them to the NFL. But I mentioned the linebacking core because there's some interesting nuggets here. Matthew Thomas is probably the most talented linebacker in the ACC when he's on the field. So the issue with Thomas right now is he has had issues off the field, and now some of the issues that he's having, we don't exactly know what the story is. So it's almost day to day. Monday, he wasn't at practice. He was said to have been listed as he should be at practice tomorrow. He didn't show up. Much of this reported by the Tallahassee Democrat. He wasn't at practice. The Miami native wasn't at practice on Tuesday either. Not until the very end. Then he was spotted walking out in shorts, not practicing with the team. And again, this is most likely the best linebacker for the Florida State Seminoles, and in terms of talent, the best in the ACC. Jimbo Fisher not really addressing the situation right now, but we got a senior linebacker, Matthew Thomas, an extremely good player when he's on the field. Obviously has some sort of off the field issues that aren't apparently injury related that may keep him out of the game or compromise his playing time or starting status. And speaking of which, senior safety Trey Marshall, not a star for Florida State, but he's a senior. He's got a lot of time in the program. He plays a lot. He's missing the first half, suspended from the bowl game against Michigan last season. So maybe some advantage that the Alabama Crimson Tide will have here early in the game against Florida State.
If Florida State does not have Matthew Thomas, that's going to hurt, because you want to have your guys at full strength. And as you mentioned, as good as Jacob Pugh is and getting after the quarterback as the outside guy, Matthew Thomas puts this all into form with his play as the inside backer, reading the gap, the emotional leader of that front seven. Definitely being able to get into the backfield and create those tackles for loss in the run game. Can also pressure the quarterback. Great sideline to sideline quickness. If he is not on the field, that hurts Florida State in a sense of you're not having that captain on your defense, especially in that front seven. More than likely, we'll see what the deal is with him in the coming days. Will he play? Will he not play?